Good morning, everyone. I'm a local, so is Boris, so I'm entitled to say welcome to Vienna, in spite of and maybe because of the political turmoil. We are here today to tell you a story about the beginning of an Agile initiative in a somewhat unusual place, and that is at the very top of the executive ladder. It's also a story about orchestrating collaboration and business agility in the corporate banking community of Raiffeisen Bank International.
Good morning. I'm Boris, and I'm fully accountable for all my actions when I work with RBI and when I play with the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. So, taking ownership is a totally familiar concept for me, as it is for every musician. In orchestras, everybody is responsible for their part in the creation of an ecstatic performance. This is true for successes and failures. The same rule applies for a banking group active in 14 different countries with more than 47,000 employees employed. We are here today to share with you a story from our corporate optimization project and the transformation of the RBI landscape that it entailed.
I'm Boris's external counterpart in this project, and I've been working for RBI for the last 20 years in different roles, and at this point as a process coach for this project. I encountered Agile about 10 years ago through the work of my husband. And my husband and I were both linguists. We met at uni many, many years ago. And our love of language, our interest in language has taken us to different places. It took him to the software world, and it took me to the world of coaching, working with teams. And then I saw what he was doing with his Agile teams, in his Agile teams. I thought, hey, I really like that. I'm working like that with my leadership teams, and I saw some parallels also in the way that I was working in the solution-focused community, another community out there, to challenge the existing management models. And I thought, oh, I wish I could do that more. I could do more of that in my world. And then when I saw agility spreading from IT into other domains, I was really pleased. And that's part of my mission now, to support the spread of Agile. Also to the groups that I work with. At the moment, I work a lot with top teams. And what I see a lot is that top teams tend someone else to order someone else to do Agile, like the product teams. The Agile coaches should be doing it. The middle management should be making themselves superfluous and doing Agile. But they themselves, are they doing it? Not always. Yeah? So I feel for an organization to become truly Agile, leadership teams need to start living and breathing Agile themselves, which is the first premise is they need to feel it on their own skin. They need to apply the methods, live according to the values. And this is part and parcel of what we've been trying to achieve here in this project.
The story before we started was as follows. In early 2018, the CEO of RBI had announced his intention to turn his bank into an adaptive organization with a growing number of Agile coaches employed. So the corporate board member of the group decided to start an initiative from the very heart of the business, the corporate banking.
From my perspective, that was important, so as not to pose an overall constraint or a constraint on the overall agility of the organization. But to be honest, when we started, our brief was not to introduce Agile. Our brief was to optimize the business model operative at a group-wide level between these 14 different countries. Our board members could connect with this picture that you see up here by Stephen Dennings a lot more than with the more technical aspects of Agile. Frankly, they were not that interested in it, whereas Stephen Dennings' books is in almost every RBI manager's office by today. So what we did was, or what we have put at the center of this initiative is the business goals of the initiative, which is basically better banking for international accounts. And that continues to be the driving force for this initiative.
So what was our starting point in April, May 2018? So on the left-hand side here you see Günther. Günther is the first violinist of the Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra. If you invite him to your party, rest assured he will perform if you like or not. In RBI Group, we had brilliant soloists performing very well indeed, locally in 14 different countries. So the challenges we faced were to maintain entrepreneurship and customization in our DNA, to reap the benefits from larger business opportunities through collaboration and joint customer focus, and to gain momentum in getting things actually started rather than just talking about them. So in big banks, taking ownership has often been seen as the prerogative of the head office. However, current and future challenges require ownership on a local or a global or macro level. Essentially, it was about orchestrating collaboration, bringing everyone together to play in greater harmony.
So how did we do this? Our corporate board members were used to coming to Vienna once a year for a series of presentations, 2 days presentations, figures-based, budget-based, how well did they do and what is expected from next year. And then they went back home and did whatever they had to do, performing very well. What did we do differently? We invited them not only once, but twice in April and May, and we prepared a very interactive program with them, with different interactive sessions, some World Café, some others, basically working on the 4 questions you see up on the slides. We started with what to keep as is, and this gave us a list of resources and what we should not touch. Then, of course, we worked on what to change, so what would help the business model to thrive. This gave us a backlog of targeted outcomes, of top priority goals. We also asked them about what they were happy to share between each other. This gave us a source of mutual learning, where one network unit, one daughter company could learn from the other one. And we asked them of how they wanted to contribute to a joint initiative. And this gave us ideas on how to structure the process, which then evolved into 4 work streams with hosts, with a core team, including Boris, a manager from the head office, and someone from one of the network units. So between the 2 board meetings and immediately afterwards, the core team shaped a process including bi-weekly sprints, monthly calls with the group corporate board member, with targeted outcomes for each stream, which would then drive the process throughout year 1.
According to the overall RBI motto 2018, enjoy shaping our future, the corporate board member of the group used the occasion of the corporate board member meeting on 24th of May 2018 for exactly doing this. He mobilized the power of this group, resulting in a group-wide corporate optimization activity with all 14 corporate board members involved. Within this, all 14 corporate board members mutually agreed on bundling joint forces into 4 work streams, namely the sales and service model work stream, the group-wide cooperation work stream, the work stream for process optimization, and the work stream for digital by the usage of big data. We intended to set up a lighthouse project by employing Agile and Adaptive that should serve local initiatives for better orientation. Currently, all corporate board members are shaping together our successful corporate future in an agile and adaptive environment. The way how this is done ranges from MVP test runs via learning loops to instantly successful MMPs for our customers. So how did we get there? We invited them for another 2 board member meetings in October and November. And here you see a facilitation slide from one of the meetings.
we asked the corporate board members to form speedboat teams, as we called it, meaning sub-teams that would go out and test hypotheses, create minimum viable products, and see how they would fare on the market and in the internal market and the external market. At this point, it was also at this point that we decided to make Agile a bit more explicit. So we invited the head of the Agile coaches to come along and talk a little bit, explain the Agile way of working, and also, most of all, to explain what is a minimum viable product and how do you get to it and what is it good for. We also did a little survey on Agile organizations, asking the board members where they felt they stood at this point, with the idea being to introduce a little bit of knowledge about Agile, a little more each time, with the focus being very much on driving the project forward. As a consequence of these two board member meetings, the speedboat teams were setting out to build prototypes and to test them, not only with real customers, but also with stakeholders in the value chain.
What has the corporate optimization project achieved so far? It has fully mobilized the power of the corporate community. Now we can rely on both outstanding solo performances locally and a significantly harmonized resonance across 14 different countries. What we get in return are a harmonized sales and service model, an improved group-wide cooperation, higher process efficiency for selected group-wide processes, and a move towards digitization by the usage of big data. And all this with zero cash out.
So what are the lessons learned so far? From my point, there are three key learnings that I'm taking or that I've experienced in the last year working on this project. Point one is the fact that, in my observation, RBI culture is still very much focused on achieving through keeping control and through being excellent. A value or a kind of culture that is not necessarily that compatible with the way we understand Agile. However, I was very impressed to see how much can be achieved from that vantage point, applying tools, processes, and practices. Yeah, so it is possible to do this from that kind of cultural mindset. On the other hand, we have always tried to pay a lot of attention also to fostering the outer layers of the Agile onion that you see here. And thankfully, another aspect of the RBI corporate culture, collaboration, proactivity, the willingness to take on responsibility is also helping us to do this. These are the newly minted values of RBI Group, and I hope that they will continue to support us in the initiative of also cultivating principles, values, and mindset in a constructive way. We've been trying to do this by inviting everyone into a dialogue, getting people to contribute, changing structures wherever we could, etc. Second point. Second learning for me was that it's much more useful to work with the natural business agility in an organization if you want to kickstart things quickly, rather than saying, you know nothing, we're going to teach you everything you've done is wrong, and now we're going to do it our way. That wouldn't have been possible at all. So it was more useful to say, okay, what are you doing already that is a little bit agile and that is compatible with the way we want to work, continue to work in the future. And third point, paying attention to language. Yeah, I'm coming back to that point. I think it was important to phrase agile concepts and agile terms in the language that business people can understand, so that it's close enough to them so that they can take it on board quickly without huge amounts of training, which we couldn't do. And on the other hand, also different enough to engender a change in behavior. I feel that the use of metaphors, such as the metaphor of the orchestra or the metaphor of the speedboat, has helped us in this.
For me, there are two major learnings. The first one, if you want to quantify one thing, quantify the amount you lose by thinking whether to start or not. The second, For me, there are 6 essentials that are the prerequisites for being innovative. In-depth skills, common sense and experience, plus skillfulness in communication, relationships, and the willingness to engage in emotional self-management. In February 2019, our CEO announced our newly established vision mission statement. We want to become the most recommended financial services group by 2025. How do we want to do that? We want to transform continuous innovation into superior customer experience. The Vienna Philharmonic Orchestra is the most recommended orchestra in the world. Our corporate community orchestra has already learned to play together in harmony and has thus taken the initial steps on the way to becoming the most recommended financial services group.
However, our challenges are by no means finished. We have another corporate meeting coming up next week. We have a management offsite with the new leadership team in Vienna. All this will probably result in changes to the product setup, definitely result in new initiatives. So do keep your fingers crossed for us and for this initiative. Thank you.
Thank you.